Hello and welcome to part 2 in the series Books Starring Cows That Go to India in Order to Escape the Meat Industry, written by men called David. The last one was Holy Cow by David Duchovny. Today's one is... Okay, so in French this book is called The Fabulous Destiny of a Cow Who Didn't Want to End Up as a Steak, but in the original German it's just called Moo. Translators, they make decisions. So this book was written by German author David Safier, and unfortunately it's not been translated into English yet. I don't know why, because David Safier is hugely popular in Germany and also in France. It seems like the either French-speaking, German-speaking, like not non-English-speaking books that do get translated into English are usually the ones that get made into movies. It's something that I've kind of noticed, not always the case, but it usually is. And it's a shame because there are so much great stuff to be had from non-English speaking authors, and it's sad that they don't get translated more often. But in case this book ever does get translated into English, here's my review of it. So this book also starts on a farm where the main character, Lolle, a cow, is having a loving relationship with her boyfriend Champion the bull. Or at least that's what she thinks, because then she finds Champion cheating on her with the herd's slutty cow, Susie. She goes to cry and complain about this to her two friends, Hilda and Lil Radish, when an Italian cat called Giacomo comes tumbling into their midst after being chased there by the demon hound Old Dog. They also get milked even though they're heifers. What is it with these books and milking heifers, I swear? Remember Old Dog, because I'll get back to him in a bit. It's the cat Giacomo that teaches Lolle that they are destined for the meat industry, that they're going to be made into burgers and meatballs. And she finds out that the entire herd is in fact going to be sold to the meat industry the very next day. So she tries to alert the rest of the herd so that they can all leave and escape, but nobody believes her apart from Hilda, Lil Radish, and weirdly Susie. They're the only ones that agree to leave with her. I think it's interesting how they are going to the slaughterhouse the very next day, unlike in David Duchovny's novel where they knew that they were like gonna go to the slaughterhouse at some point. Maybe, but there was no immediate urgency to it. Whereas in this book there is. It's like, we have to leave now. That was way more impactful to me. Sometimes tension is needed. I also want to point out that Lolle is a way better character than, what was her name, Elsie? I mean, I've established that Elsie, unlike what I said in the video, is not the most annoying character that I've ever come across. That goes to the main character in Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, whose name I can't remember. Is it Adam? I can't remember. But Lolle is way nicer to read. She's very naive because, you know, she's been on a farm all her life. She doesn't know what the world's about, so obviously she's naive. And she's flawed. She has to lead this small herd of hers out of this very dangerous situation. She has no fucking clue how to do that. But she tries, you know, through trial and error, learning about the world as she goes along, as they all go along, and dealing with everybody's different personalities, she makes it work. Yeah, way more agreeable to read than David Duchovny's novel. I also want to talk about the farmer for a second because, again, unlike David Duchovny's novel where the farmers are just, like, doing their thing, they're just being farmers, this guy, like, he has this kind of one-sided conversation with Lolle where he says that he originally he liked working outside and working with animals, and he had good intentions when he started the farm years and years ago, but it took a very big financial toll on him. So he had to, like, have cows and not have the time to look after them the way he wanted to originally. So he had to just keep, you know, doing what he did and make his farm bigger in order to make money, and sacrifice a lot along the way in order to be financially stable, which he, despite all of his work, fails to do, and he ends up going down a path of alcoholism and depression, and at the end of which he sells the whole farm and the cows and everything. And it's kind of sad, really, because like the farmer's not a nice character, because obviously, you know, he's at this point in the story, he's the antagonist. He is sending the cows away to the slaughterhouse, but he's acting selfishly, but he has a reason for behaving this way. And I thought it was interesting that the author gave him a reason, so we can kind of relate to him in some way, or at least understand where he's coming from. Because this is a big problem for farmers. Like, the financial side of farming is insane. The stuff they have to pay for, the taxes and that, and they really don't earn a lot of money, and it's really sad. They don't have any days off, they have to work 7 days a week. It's a really tough job. They should be paid more. So Lolle and their friends start their journey by travelling through a forest where they meet a Broadway cow. So this cow does this whole like song routine, and so apparently she was famous, and she used to work in the USA, and she was on Broadway, and she did like musicals and stuff, which is really cool. And I thought that this was going to have some kind of meaning later on, because they do actually go to the USA. So they could have been like, oh yeah, we knew this cow, and maybe you find out, I don't know, more about her and how cows got to be on Broadway, because we never actually know how that happened. But yeah, this never comes up again, so why is it here? There's also a thing about like a frog that turns, or a prince that was turned to a frog or something. Okay, so David Safier kind of gives us, like, starts off by giving this sort of fairy tale setting once the cows leave the farm, but that only lasts for like 2 chapters, and then the real world kicks in again. Neither of these things have any relevance to the plot, and they never come up again. So the farmer tries to catch the cows by using Champion as bait. So they manage to save Champion, like wrestle him out of this scenario, but in the process he bangs his head and loses all of his memories. They end up boarding a ship that Giacomo tells them it's going to India, but it's actually going to the USA, like it goes to New York. And obviously, like they hide in these containers, but obviously they can't stay there for the entire journey, so they have to come out. And so they meet the crew, and the captain of this container ship is pretty much in the same state as the farmer. He's very depressed, he's lost the will to live. And just spending time with these cows, being there, like, really helps him kind of heal. I guess they serve as like some kind of soothing animals. Like, it is known in research that animals are very soothing when it comes to mental illness or physical illness or disabilities and stuff like that. So maybe that's what happens. He kind of has this moment with Lolle where he's like looking into eyes, and suddenly he feels better, and he kind of gets his dream of adventure returning to him and stuff like that. Like, it's not entirely clear how, but I thought that was a nice moment. They stand on the ship, like, contemplating the vast ocean and how they have gone, like, they've gotten this far on their own. Like, and they've probably gone further than any cow has gone before without anyone helping them. So it's a lovely moment of, like, emancipation, of kind of realising what they're capable of, which I thought was really nice. And they spend a moment mourning the rest of the herd that they couldn't save and coming to peace with that, which is also really sweet. I really like this moment where they're on the boat. I really like that. When they get to New York, the sailors don't want them to go and be turned into burgers, so they send them to this farm in Texas. And they really like it there. They're being treated really well. They're being given this super nice food and everything's amazing. But there's this one cow there who's always like being like, this is too good to be true, there's something's wrong, we're going to be sent to the slaughterhouse, something's up. And Lolle doesn't believe her, and none of the cows believe her, which is kind of ironic because Lolle was like in the same situation as this cow, and nobody believed her, and now she's the one who's in complete disbelief. She doesn't believe that like something so nice can end with them being sold to the slaughterhouse, but it does. The cows are essentially there to be gourmet meat in very fancy restaurants. So they end up being loaded onto this train. It's a very weird scene because they put all the cows, like they sedate all the cows so they're all asleep, and they load them onto the train while they're asleep. How how they're cows. Like, cows are big animals. Yeah, I don't know, but they somehow manage them to, like, put them on this train, and that's when Lolle and her friends realise that, oh yeah, we are going to the slaughterhouse after all. So Giacomo manages to get them to escape by jumping off a bridge, and they ask, like, the cow from the herd if she wants to come with them, but she doesn't want to. She tells them that she regrets basically being this moody bitch all the time and just seeing the negatives in anything, because it meant that she didn't get to live the beautiful life that she had. And I thought that was an interesting thing to bring up. It kind of echoed Elsie's best friend, who decided to stay at the farm and just live out her life at the farm with her baby, even though she knew that one day she was going to go to the slaughterhouse. Okay, so they manage to escape the train and jump off the bridge, and they end up in this herd with a bunch of bulls who are, like, super misogynistic, and they're like, well, if you want to be in a herd, you have to do everything we say and submit to us. So the alpha male / incel of the cow world. So obviously they turn them all down. It's weird. It was really weird to me that this scene was just crowbarred in there as, like, oh, by the way, toxic masculinity is wrong, just for this, like, one chapter. Don't do this. Yeah, I don't know, it's weird. It's kind of like the Frog Prince thing. It's like, it's just there for no real reason. I guess they know that they don't want to submit to bulls, that they want to remain independent and do their own thing. So yeah, even Champion doesn't go along with this. Then they get on a plane and they almost travel to India, but the weight of the cows in the plane, like, puts obviously a massive strain, because, like, when planes take off, they have to calculate the fuel that they need for the flight based on the weight of the plane and blah, and obviously they didn't take into account. Thank you, David Safier, for specifying this kind of little details that I find very pleasing. So obviously the plane can't reach its destination because it's vastly overweight. It's got a bunch of cows on it that nobody knew about. So they open the baggage compartment and find that it's full of cows. How many cows have we got now? We've got Lolle, Little Radish, Hilda, Susie, and Champion. So 5 cows that all weigh about a ton each on this plane. Yeah, it's a bit overloaded. So the plane ends up crashing over the Himalayas. Susie is the one that gets to pull them out, and so she kind of has her heroic moment. And then they get to India, where they are greeted and integrated into the wonderful cow sphere of the Hindi people. So the characters are okay. I guess, like I said, Lolle is a lot less annoying than Elsie, which is not saying much, but she grows as a character. Like, unlike Elsie, who's pretty just annoying and unbearable all the way through the book and doesn't, like, learn anything or grow in any way. Like, I guess she just becomes a salty bitch at the end. Lolle grows as a character. You know, she starts off from being this naive cow to being a mum. She has a baby on the way, and she learns about herself. She learns about life. She actually takes in the things that happen to her on this adventure, on this journey. So, points for that. All the characters kind of grow in some way or another. I liked Susie's arc, because Susie kind of starts off as I said, she's the herd slut. She just sleeps with everyone. And that's the only way she knows how to attach value to herself. So we learn as the story goes on that she doesn't like herself, that she doesn't have any self-confidence. She is only valued through the eyes of others who desire her, but they don't even do that. They just see her as a free sex. That's all she is to them. But as the book goes on, she also grows as a character until she ends up saving everybody's lives, and she discovers her own self-worth. Hilda has a lot of personal anxiety because she is white with brown spots instead of white with black spots. And that's one of the things that comes up when they meet the misogynistic bulls, because they have brown spots as well. And she's like, oh wow, he's got brown spots. Oh yeah, turns out he's a dickhead. So I guess she learns that it's okay to be different. Little Radish is really cute. I really liked her. She's extremely naive. She takes everything first degree. The only kind of complaint I have about her character arc is that it's not very relevant to the plot. But then there's quite a lot of stuff that's not really relevant to anything that's kind of put in this book. I guess David Safier was kind of just like fluffing around with ideas that weren't really fleshed out or kind of made to make sense in any way. Because, like, you know, I didn't mention Champion, but he's just there to cause drama, basically. He's just there to cause drama between Susie and Lolle, and that's it. Like, you could write him out of this book. It really wouldn't matter. They also have this weird religion that keeps coming up, like the stories of how their cow deity created the world and how humans fit into it and cows and blah. And, you know, this is kind of ongoing story about the deity and her relationship with the bull deity and blah. And again, and at the end, they kind of come to terms with, yeah, maybe this whole divinity thing isn't true and the religion's not true and we've been lied to. Which you think was kind of fucking obvious, because, like, the second they leave their fields and venture out into the world, they realise that the world is not what they thought it was. But it took them a journey all the way to India via America to figure this out. Okay. Again, the whole religion thing, it's something that could have been just left out of this book. I didn't think it was interesting in any shape or form. And then there's Old Dog. Remember that? Right at the beginning, we get this scene with Old Dog. So Old Dog is this kind of living dead hound that used to be on the farm, but then he had a girlfriend and she died, and then he died and he was super sad. And then he comes back and he wants to kill Lolle, and I don't understand why. I don't understand what Lolle has to do with anything that happened to Old Dog. Like, she is not relevant to him in any shape or form. And it just seems to be like, well, she's pregnant, and Old Dog's girlfriend was pregnant when she died, so, like, he wants to kill Lolle's baby. Why? Like, I don't know, the whole kind of thing with Old Dog, because he keeps popping up, like, all the way through the book, and he's like, I'm gonna hurt you, and I'm gonna do terrible things to you, and he just keeps coming and doing this, and then eventually there's confrontation at the end, but, like, why? It's just, like, massive, like, again, you could have just, what is the point of this? It could have been written out. It's a bit frustrating to me, the amount of stuff in this book that has no connection to anything and is just there for the point of being there. I think that there could, like, to me, there could have been more emphasis put on the personal journeys of the characters and, like, the relationship with the people on the ship or the farmer or stuff like that. That side of stuff could have been way more fleshed out rather than all this, like, weird stuff that was just piled in for no obvious purpose. So all in all, David Safier did a way better job than David Duchovny. The one thing that I really appreciate about this is, unlike David Duchovny's novel, which is basically trying to ram vegetarianism or veganism in your face in a very bizarre way that doesn't make any sense. This book isn't trying to do that. It's not trying to say you need to be vegan or you need to stop eating meat because this is how cows are treated and think of it from their point of view. What it's saying is we need to treat animals right, and also the humans who look after them need to be treated right. And that's a way better message, I think, than you have to be vegan regardless of anything. Yeah. I liked the characters a lot more. I liked the world a lot more. I liked the message a lot more. I still don't think it's perfect. I have a lot of issues with it, but yeah, that's my thoughts on the, what's it called? The Fabulous Destiny of a Cow Who Didn't Want to End Up as a Steak in French, or Moo in German. Whatever the hell this is going to be called in English when it finally does get translated. Moo's a good title, just call it Moo. You don't have to like do these weird lengthy, they like doing this in France, giving books like these incredibly long weird titles. Like Q&A by Vikas Swaroop ended up being called The Incredible Destiny of an Indian Boy Who ended up being a millionaire or something, or won the lottery or something like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire or something like that. Like, I don't need titles to be that long, it's weird. So if you know of any other books about cows travelling to India to escape the meat industry, do put them in the description because I would love to read more of this. This is actually quite fun. Also, I want an excuse to wear this again because I made it specially for the video. Commitment, okay? So that's it for this video. Do tell me what you thought. So thank you so much for watching. Love, share, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you all next time. Moo!